your source for everything paranormal. ParaX.
Throughout the ages, history has been altered by word of mouth and the misrepresentation of those who might not have been present when some of the world's most significant events took place. Channelers Barry and Connie Strohm bring through the spirits of those who actually witnessed or took part in these historical events and lets them tell their stories in their own words. Welcome to Channeling History. And now, here are your hosts, Barry and Connie Strohm.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Channeling History. We're the only show where we speak to the souls that made things happen. I'm Barry Strohm, your host, and I'll be speaking the words of the spirits tonight.
I'm Connie Strohm, your co-host, and I would like to also welcome you to our show. Last week, we discussed the future of the United States with the spirits of Franklin Roosevelt, Ronald Reagan, and Antonin Scalia. This was a very insightful and interesting show. They had some great ideas. The audio is available for download on podbean.com, and the video of our show can be seen on YouTube channel. Tonight, we're going to try something a little different. Barry's going to channel a roundtable discussion with 3 archangels who will discuss the past and future for humanity. We will have Archangel Michael, the protector, Metatron, the archangel of life, and Azrael, the angel who helps you at your time of death. We chose Azrael tonight because he was present when the civilization failed and the souls returned to heaven.
Now, all of our Channeling History shows are available on our YouTube channel. It's in my name, Barry Strohm. And currently the channel has over 750 videos available. In addition to Channeling History, we do 3 other podcasts. Hello Heaven on Friday night, a weekly message from Jesus on Wednesday mornings, and a Sunday sermon. All of our shows are dedicated to bringing you a better understanding of the afterlife and human history. So please subscribe to our broadcasts and give them a like. It helps with the various search algorithms, and we do try to reach as many people as possible. Now tonight, it's going to be, as Connie said, a bit different, but if you do have questions as we are continuing with our questions, please enter them in the chat room and we will try to ask the spirits for you. Now we're going to give a short disclaimer. The opinions or statements voiced on our show are the channeled words tonight of the Archangels, and do not necessarily reflect our opinions, those of the ParaX Network or of our sponsors. And before we channel, Connie always says a prayer of protection. So she's going to say the prayer, and then we will begin to get on with our spirit guests.
God, please grant us your wisdom and protection. Grant us the knowledge that we can handle and keep us safe from all things that will harm us. Keep the messages positive and pure love. Keep us safe from our egos. We ask these things in the light of the seen, the unseen, and the honesty of God. Amen.
Angels have been around since creation and observed and assisted in the evolution of humans as well as other civilizations on other planets. As technologies increase, it seems as though humans are using our new technology to assure our destruction. Now, what happened to other civilizations, both good and bad, should be a lesson for humans. The archangels are the one energy who has observed everything that has happened in the universe. Now, we will be asking some very direct questions of the angels and be using a roundtable format for discussion purposes so that each archangel will respond to each of our questions.
Okay, we're going to begin tonight with Archangel Michael. Welcome back, Michael. Going back in time, what characteristic of souls do you believe has caused the failure of the great civilizations on other planets?
All of the planets in the galaxy where God has created life and where the planets are capable of sustaining life, God has always given the souls free will. He's allowed them to make their own choices because life on all the planets are an opportunity to learn lessons for when we return and you spend your time in heaven, which is where you spend most of your soul time. Throughout the ages, the energies have used their free will to make mistakes. That is expected. Some mistakes are worse than others, and in many instances, the planets refuse to accept a peaceful way of living. They failed to accept the concept of coexistence. Quite often, they would attack other planets and create wars, and it would result in their destruction. So, free will has always been a problem, and it will continue to be a problem into the future for any of the souls in our own galaxy. Archangel Metatron. The free will of souls on other planets, as Michael said, is the same as free will that has been given to humans on the planet that you refer to as Earth. Free will can be a wonderful thing when you use it to choose to live peacefully, to coexist, to do all of the things that will help you be good to others. But greed has been present on all planets. As the soul forms took shape, they wanted what their other person or character on that planet possessed, and often they would just simply take it. In the beginning, on all planets, there were basically no communities, and these souls had to learn to get along with others. In most instances, it was easier to just simply take something than it was to create it for yourself. In primitive societies, it can be simply that you're starving and you're taking food from someone else, and then someone comes and takes your food. And the person who runs out of food first is the one who starves to death. So greed is an instrumental part of failure. You can associate it with your everyday life. If you show greed and want what others have and are willing to work for it, then you are creating a bad karma that will follow you through future lifetimes. Well, the creation of bad karma is present on all planets. That is a basic part of the learning process that God has wanted all of his creatures to understand and to learn to control. So greed has led to the failure of many cultures throughout the galaxy. Azrael. I have been present on all the planets that God has created, and I have been there for the passing of the spirits when they would leave their life planes. Now keep in mind that the life planes on many planets are different than obviously the life plane on Earth. But they would pass. Many of them would have no concept of an afterlife. In all of the primitive cultures that God has created, the concept of afterlife has had to be learned. And in many instances, I would see total shock when these souls would pass from their life plane. They would not expect that there would be anything else. They never even, in many cultures, conceived of the fact that there could be an afterlife, because in reality, there's no great way that you can learn that lesson without dying. So I would see different reactions, and many of them would be absolute shock when they would see what was taking place. The concept of death is different in all of the different civilizations. As planets matured, they would learn not to fear death. And as planets would mature, God would send prophets to them in different forms, and they would explain the realities of afterlife, just the same as humans have been shown the realities of afterlife. But I would say that in all instances, on all planets, as humans were adapting to better technologies, the shock of what came after death was very similar.
Since the creation of the universe, you've helped other civilizations advance in their evolution. What characteristics were most beneficial to those cultures? Let's begin with Archangel Metatron.
Truly, I have been present in all of the cultures that God has created. So there have been many different situations that have been very beneficial. Keep in mind that there is no general rule that certain cultures lived under conditions that the human culture would have no understanding. But there's always the attempt to lead the individuals in those various cultures to following a behavior pattern similar to what God has requested of humans. When humans learn to coexist with each other, they will cross a great threshold. On other planets, the concept of coexistence can be different, but the reality of it is the same. It is only when a civilization learns to get along that it does not fight internally and undermine its own cultures. That is the most beneficial thing that can take place. And that is really the key, one of the main keys of cultures truly advancing into the future. Azrael. The concept of an afterlife is incredibly critical to any culture. They have to understand that there is a God, that there is an ultimate energy, however they refer to it or however they think of it, and that when a soul passes from the body, it goes into another dimension, which we on earth refer to as heaven. That afterlife is referred to in many ways on the different planets because of the different cultures, the different belief structures. But it has to be accepted as a fact. As there is life, there is death. And as there is death, there is afterlife. And as there is afterlife, there is rebirth. These are the concepts that all civilizations have got to understand. And these are the concepts that are most necessary if any culture is going to advance and have a very good future. Michael. The concept of supernatural beings, be they a god, be they angels, be they spirits that return to them. The cultures need to understand all of the things that are taking place around them so that they can adapt to living as those extraterrestrial or supernatural beings are attempting to teach them. It is not until they understand that there is supernatural help available that a culture will truly advance into the future. all of the individual cultures that God has established in the galaxy began with no concept. They began as primitive individuals or primitive life forms, and they had to learn. Once they understand the concept of supernatural aid and help, then they learn to accept advice, and then they actually do begin their true evolutional journey that leads to success.
Okay, you have also witnessed the failure of many cultures throughout the galaxy. Is there a common thread that has been present for all cultures that failed? Let's start with Azrael.
In the cultures that failed, I would see the individuals at death have no understanding of what was coming to them. Many of the cultures that failed have not accepted the concept of afterlife. When a culture only believes that the period of life that they have is very short and comes to an end, and that there is nothing afterwards, they have nothing to strive for. Humans understand that there is a God, and that if you live a good life, you will advance in his heaven. So that is a goal. But when cultures don't accept the concept of God, they do not accept that there is a goal, and they live a short lifetime with no expectancy of an afterlife. So those decisions that they make during their life are much different than when you accept the concept of a God and of a future life. So most of the cultures that I've seen fail, when they die, are in utter shock at what comes to them upon their death. Metatron. Cultures that fail do not accept the concept of coexistence. Most of them do not advance to the point where they can have successful societies that help one another. One of the main concepts that God tries to instill in all civilizations is the concept of helping others. When they don't accept that concept of helping others, then the opposite occurs, and they will harm one another. If cultures cannot accept what I will refer to as as being more civilized, then there is no answer but for them to war among themselves, and eventually their energies are taken up with better weapons until they manage to kill each other. And civilizations die because they lose that ability to advance. Michael. I find that basically the inability to get along is what undermines all of the great civilizations. The concept of personal power among leadership, of greed, of putting others into slavery, the concept of taking advantage of others. The people that are being taken advantage of generally reach a point where they will rebel against leadership that is causing them such hardship. If the individuals that are being taken advantage of are being lied to, do not have educations to advance, do not know how to manage, do not know how to govern. Then civilizations fall into turmoil. In those civilizations, I am constantly hearing prayers for protection, to save them from the leaders, to save them from warring gangs. When there is no structured governmental organization, cultures fall apart. And generally, we also find it is because of the leadership. It is because that the leadership does not understand the concept of coexisting with everyone that lives in that culture. So there are many things that destroy the civilizations, but I think that what was mentioned is probably the greatest things that have come into play in the destruction of the great civilizations and planets.
Okay, we hear a rather interesting question from our chat room. Did God create different races on Earth so that we could learn to coexist, or was it just evolution?
Metatron's going to answer this. It was definitely so that humans would learn the lesson of coexistence. If everyone was equal, there would be fewer lessons to be learned. But when an individual looks at another person with a different skin color, it creates a different type of learning experience. Different races, different languages, different religions. God created all of these so that humans could learn to coexist. Without differences, there could be no learning.
Thank you. What role did each of you play in the advancement of other cultures? Let's begin with Michael.
I would try to teach individuals how to protect themselves. And often they had to learn to protect themselves from themselves. So we would try to come to them in dreams. We would come to them in different forms. We would send different types of people, different types of spirits back to them. I would have my angels assume forms to go back and try to teach them lessons. They had to learn that they needed to be protected from many things. They had to learn to defend themselves physically. They had to learn to grow food. They had to learn all of the things that were required for individuals to advance. And this is basically what I did with my angels. I would send them back to learn, for instance, to teach them how to grow food. As they became advanced, we would try to give them technologies for synthetic foods that they would rely upon. We tried to teach them how to defend themselves. We did many things, but they had to basically learn the lessons. And that is where the problem lies. Some of the lessons the people did not learn. They would resent that they were trying to be led in different directions. And when cultures would fail to learn the lessons that we tried to teach them, then indeed there would be major problems. Metatron. We tried to use our angels to inform them that there was something greater than the life they were living. We understood from the beginning that cultures had to have an understanding of the afterlife so that we could present more intricate lessons to them that were very, very important for them to advance. They had to understand that there was something greater than the here and now for them. they had to know that there had to be a goal to be learned by every life. And they had to learn that differences between individuals cause great problems, and they must learn to get along. The major lesson throughout the galaxy that had to be learned and has to be learned is to get along. Cultures will advance and they will develop weapons, and they must learn not to use them. They must learn that if they use them, there will always be someone more powerful, and that entire planets can be destroyed. This has happened in the past, and it will happen in the future. Azrael. Today, on your planet, Earth, when half of the people die and their souls pass from their bodies, they are anticipating an entrance into this place, the dimension of heaven. They understand God, and they understand truly what is required for happy lives and for them to advance. That is the most important thing, the biggest change that I see in cultures that are doomed, that refuse to learn the lessons. When the souls die from their body, they're basically not expecting anything, and they are basically in shock. So that is a big part of the problem.
Okay. Are there any civilizations in the galaxy that have maintained a warlike attitude towards their neighbors? Let's start with Metatron on this one.
No. There are planets that do not get along with their neighbors, that have differences of opinions, different lifestyles, many differences. But they have learned not to wage war with one another. As planets and cultures have advanced, they have gained weapons to defend themselves. And a basic tenet of success throughout the galaxy has been not to begin wars with other planets. So there are people that are very advanced in their cultures that do not get along with their neighbors, but they have also learned not to get into wars with them. And that is very important. You've received messages that state that it is not necessary to like everyone or to get along with everyone, but you do not do violence towards them or show hatred to them. That lesson works on an individual scale, and it works on an intergalactic scale. It is critical to getting along and to surviving. Michael, when people learn how to exist on their own and be self-sufficient, not require help from others as to existing, learn to help those that need help, and put together the lessons that they are told, then their culture advances. As they learn these basic lessons, then we will come forth and give them more technologies, introduce them to civilizations from other planets and bring help to them in many different forms. But as long as a planet is warlike, we will not introduce other cultures to them. We do not want, for instance, if a Palladian ship comes to Earth, we do not want you humans to use your weapons against that ship. So they must be major lessons of coexistence learned. When common sense takes over, you will find that the human culture will advance at a very, very rapid pace. Azrael. We want all cultures and peoples to know where they're going with their lives, to have a goal, to achieve a goodness, to achieve what God wants them to achieve. And when that happens, then everyone will be in much better shape, shall we say. I want, from what I see, I want every individual when they die not to have feared the death that came to them, and to expect entrance into the dimension of heaven. When that takes place, when every soul understands what is to come in the future, then that attitude will be reflected throughout their everyday lives, and they will truly be able to advance.
Okay, in the past, what characteristic of humans created the most problems for their evolution? Okay, Azrael, it's your turn to start.
I would say the propensity to worship idols other than the true God. I would say that that is very, very important, that that characteristic of not following the words of the true God has been a huge reason why civilizations have failed. If an entire civilization worships evil, there's no way that the violence created by that evil worship is not going to destroy that culture. That is, I would think, the main reason. Michael. I would have to think about greed being one of the most dangerous characteristics of humans, because greed makes humans want what others want. Instead of helping individuals with the wealth that a human often accumulates, they hoard it and do not use it for good. Greed causes many souls to go astray. We see it all the time when they pass into heaven. Greed is an absolute major problem because humans, in many instances, seem to want what the other person has. And they are willing to steal and do violence to take it. So it is a very, very difficult characteristic for humans. And some individuals have greed for power. You see it today in individuals that are waging war simply because they want more power. And that is a concept, a form of greed. Metatron. I see multiple characteristics in humans all the time that provide problems. As Michael said, greed is one of the biggest. The inability to get along with others is a terrible characteristic shown by humans. When they look at a person with a different skin color, they feel that that person is inferior or different. A superiority feeling among humans is very, very dangerous, because that is what leads to much violence, hatred, many of the things that will destroy a civilization. Feelings of superiority should never be existent in a person. You can tell right away when someone feels superior to another. And when you look down on another person, it is a terrible thing, because it will lead to other characteristics. And everyone must understand the great equality of the soul. All souls are equal, and when you come to heaven, there is this great equality. No one except God is better than the other.
Okay. One of our listeners wants to know, when extraterrestrials are accepted here more widely, is that expected to create peace on Earth?
Michael is going to answer this one. When humans have evolved to the point that they will accept ETs, they will be accepting the greatest source of information that will ever be available to them in a very rapid form. How they accept the ETs is what will be critical. If humans are not ready to use the technologies that ET give them, it is possible that they will destroy the planet with those technologies. So they have to not only accept the differences that they will see among these different cultures that will come to them to help, but they also have to be able to use what they get, the information that is given to them, to create peace. That becomes a topic of free will. And once again, that will be up to the humans to make the decisions. So the acceptance of ETs is no guarantee of peace on Earth.
From what you've learned about humans, do you think they will succeed in advancing in their evolution? Let's start with Michael.
Right now, I would give them a 50-50 chance. We are seeing evil in many places that we haven't seen it before, and to an extreme that we haven't seen in the past. There's always been evil throughout time. But humans have never had the ability before to destroy themselves. So I hope that humans will be able to learn to coexist with one another. Today, they have not learned that lesson, as can be seen by all the wars that are taking place, by the plans of countries to try to take over control of the world. Until those types of attitudes change, and there is a one world order of peace, an order of understanding, an order of goodwill towards all, then the odds will swing greatly in the favor of humans. But at the current time, I would say that the odds are probably 50-50. Metatron. I'm a little more optimistic than Michael. I believe that humans have a basic good. I know that there is a spark of God in all humans, even in the people who do evil. But hopefully, they will come to an understanding that the path to evil is certainly not the path to success for evolution. We are seeing many countries get along very well today. In ancient times, very few countries got along for longer periods of time. It was thought in those days that it was through conquering others that you showed your strength. Today, there's an equality in weaponry that makes it much more difficult. Russia is learning that lesson, even though they are the largest country in the world. They are learning that a small country that desires their freedom can stand up to them, and because of modern weaponry, can find an equality. There should be a time that all countries understand the great equality that needs to take place. It will not be until nuclear weapons are disposed of and are not owned by any countries that the true peace and world order can be obtained. But that is distant because countries feel that they need these weapons to defend themselves from others. When they do not feel the need to defend themselves, that is the time that peace can truly descend upon the planet Earth. Azrael. I feel that it will not be until all individuals understand that there is an afterlife and that their activities during their life determine what will take place when they go to that afterlife. When people know that there is a penalty for their actions and that penalty can be incredibly long-lasting in their terms of their own time, that is a time that I believe that there truly will be an assurance that humans will evolve rapidly into the future.
Okay, each of you deals with different aspects of helping humans. Will each of you describe any changes in humans you've witnessed over the years? Let's start with Metatron.
I have not witnessed as many changes in humans as I would have liked to have witnessed. When our Lord walked the earth, people would ridicule him and not listen to his words. They took his life. They failed to understand what was taking place, the miracle that was before them. Humans have got to open their minds to the realities of God, to the realities of what is necessary for them to advance and to become happy individuals and to do what others would like them to do. They have changed in many ways. Humans have not advanced in their intellectual abilities for thousands of years, but they have advanced in their learning using what abilities they've been given because of changes in informational systems that have been made available to them. When God decides that they are capable of learning more advanced practices, they will find that their intellectual abilities will increase. But an increase I cannot see has taken place in the last several thousand years. Michael, I have seen actually less violence, even though millions of people have been killed. In ancient times, it was not uncommon for 50 or 100,000 individuals to be killed in an individual battle. I have seen weapons currently being developed that can kill millions of people. But hopefully, those weapons will not be used. Today, they are not used for a single reason, and that is simply because these countries understand that similar weapons will be used against them. In many ways, humans really have not changed. They have always drawn away from God. They have always been drawn towards evil. They have always shown greed. They've always shown a desire for power. And those last two desires have destroyed civilizations. Today, there is hope. The systems of government have changed. The understanding in many countries that people should truly control the politicians. There is great hope for the human race. But they must understand that it is only through the path of following the words that God gives you that they will truly be able to advance. Azrael. It is sad to say that I still see as many people surprised upon their death that there is a heaven than I have seen in past times. The access to information about the afterlife is more readily available now than it ever has been. So I'm hoping that in the near future, more and more people will truly understand that afterlife exists and that it is this afterlife that is the whole reason why you are having a human life. So I do believe that in the future I will see more people that are not as shocked at their time of passing. And I am seeing more people that do not fear death, and that is a very good sign. There are many, many people that truly understand that the afterlife is a reality and that the human life is simply a short home for the soul.
Has the morality of humans changed throughout the years, and is it better now than in the past? Let's begin with Azrael.
I believe it is about the same from what I see. As I said, about as many people are surprised when they see the dimension of heaven when they die. About as many less people, I do think, are fearing death. But there are still many, many people that pursue evil to the extent that it will make future evolution very, very difficult. Michael. I'm not seeing many changes. Humans have been pretty typical of the patterns of other planets. The decision has not been made on Earth yet, whether it will succeed or whether it will not succeed. And that is truly up to all the people. When the decision is made that they will follow the teachings of coexistence and love, then the planet will be assured that it will exist. But that decision certainly has not been made. Today, there are many people using communication systems to draw people away from God. And that is a terrible characteristic. The question obviously is still out on whether humans are going to exist into the long term. It is, we hope, the role of every individual that they will take an active part in assuring the humans exist. And you simply do that by showing love, compassion, helping others, believing in a God, believing in your religion, believing in the faith. Have faith as that foundation, that there is the afterlife that is more important in this life. So things are, I think, having the ability to improve, but there's much to be done before the future of humans are assured. We work every day at it, and hopefully there will be a time that it will work out. Connie?
This is a time when humans should be drawing closer to the words of God, but it appears they're drawing away from Him. What will it take to bring humans closer to God? Let's begin with Michael.
Sadly, it is probably going to take a major occurrence that brings the fear of death to many people. There's a saying that there's no such thing as an atheist in the foxhole, and that we hear prayers from individuals that have never prayed to us at time of war when they fear they're going to lose their lives. There are realities taking place that should bring fear to all humans, and hopefully that fear alone will bring them closer to God, and it will take place without a major event having to occur. Metatron. Humans will only draw closer to God when they truly understand the ravages of following evil. The understanding of God is very difficult. You see all of the miracles around you that He has produced for you. But humans fail to understand that what they're seeing is a miracle of God. When they see a newborn baby, they must understand that that is one of the greatest miracles that God has provided. He provides newborns of all species. These are all miracles. When humans truly understand that what they're seeing around them is a miracle of God, then they will truly draw closer and understand His powers. They must learn that free will is actually a great weapon for good, because they can use it to do great things to help others. It is also a double-edged sword where they can use it to follow evil. When they understand the good is always outweighs evil, then they will truly advance. Azrael. I'm very optimistic. But then again, each of you are supposed to be, each of us are supposed to be optimistic. After all, we're angels. Even though we have seen the collapse of civilizations throughout the galaxy, even though we have seen the death of millions of people in times of war, we're supposed to remain optimistic and try to lead humans away from what creates those situations. I see death. My role is to help the soul when it passes. If the soul has an understanding of heaven, of an afterlife, it is very easy to help. If they do not believe in God, they will realize the true shock of the time of passing. Connie?
Okay, we run out of time. Would each of you like to have a closing message for our people? So let's start with Metatron.
I am very, very optimistic. Our role is to help people. When people refuse to be helped, we have failed. We need to be able to reach people and to help them understand the importance of coexistence, the importance of love, the importance of not showing anger or hatred, the importance of living a good life, because that is the key. Living a good life and helping others is contagious. Others will catch that, the germ of help, of love, but it has to be given by someone. When everyone learns to live with one another, then humans will truly be assured of a future. Michael, when humans do not have to pray to me for protection, they will have made a huge step. Generally, it is through violence and war that I hear from them. It is through times of danger. As people understand that love is the most important thing in the world, and helping others is so important in coexistence, then times of violence will decrease. When greed does not lead people to steal, when the love of power does not lead people to conquer others, then they will not need to pray to me for protection, because they will be protected through their own actions. And that will be a wonderful time for humans. Azrael. I want all humans to understand that death is the beginning of a new life for them. I see souls that have followed Satan and feel that there is no afterlife. There's no need to love others. There's no need to do good. There's no need to do many things that God wants you to do. But when the day comes that when every human enters the dimension of heaven, that they are open-eyed and envious and in love with what they see, and that they have truly known that death was not the end for them, and that they have not feared that time of departing. That is the time that humans will be able to truly evolve. But it will only be after they know that when they die, heaven awaits them all. So thank you for allowing us to speak tonight.
I'd like to thank you all for coming through for us tonight. We know that angels are very real and hope that others believe in them as well. The information we discussed tonight is very valuable for anyone that wants to understand our modern world and future survival. Information about the past holds the key to the future. Many are trying to remove history from our schools and distort the past. Knowledge is the only key to the future.
Indeed. Every Friday night, Connie and I do a show called Hello Heaven, where we discuss many things similar to what we talked about tonight. We invite you to join us. It's on our YouTube channel, and you can listen to it on podbean.com as well. My 11th book, Jesus the Missing Years, is completed. It's available in paperback, hardcover, ebook, audiobook on Amazon. Signed copies are available on my website, barrystrohm.com and spiritspredict.com. The Bible omits 33 years in the life of Jesus. If you want to learn about what truly took place, buy the book. I'm sure you're going to enjoy it.
Thank you for joining us tonight on Channeling History. We always try to bring you the truth about history and the afterlife by speaking to the souls that have lived the events. Tonight, we spoke with angelic energies, and they gave you information that will help assure successful evolution. The hardest job is to get people to listen to the messages. So please tell your friends about our shows. We think you'll be doing them a favor. Say good night and God bless you.
So thank you for listening. We'll be back again next week. Not sure what we'll do, but I think you'll enjoy it. Good night, and God bless all of you.
Thanks for listening to Channeling History. Tune in again next week for another electrifying episode, as we never know who will make an appearance or who will come through the portal. Any rebroadcast or other use of this program without explicit permission is strictly prohibited. Copyright 2020. Our Story Begins by Kevin MacLeod, licensed through Incompetech.com.